And welcome to Monday, the Chico Borman Show here on the Big Play Sports Network. It is great to have you along as we broadcast live from our studios here at Burke Lakefront Airport. We'll be with you till 2. We do it every day, Monday through Friday, noon to 2, here on Big Play and all across the social media platforms. Twitter at Chico Show CLE. Also on YouTube. If you're not a subscriber, please do that immediately. You can also find us wherever you get your podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and we also are live as far as radio, iHeartRadio. Download that app, type in Big Play, and you'll be all set to go. Much to talk about here on this Monday afternoon. Now, the Browns, of course, coming back from the bye week and on the practice field, I believe as we speak. One guy in particular, at least not on the outside practice field, he is Deshaun Watson working indoors. I have no idea what that means. But, hopefully as the week goes along, we'll get some clarity in terms of that. But P.J. Walker and Dorian Thompson-Robinson taking splitting the snaps outside for Kevin Stefanski's offense. The Browns are getting ready to play the San Francisco 49ers, who last night took Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys behind the woodshed and spanked them. The defense didn't even have to play into the fourth quarter, for God's sake. They're good. They are the best team in football. I don't want to say it's not close because Philly... Something has to be said for Philadelphia winning, being undefeated, not playing their best football. But if we're only going to go on 5 games, which that's all we've played, Browns have only played 4. If we're only going to go on 5 games, then San Francisco clearly is the best team in the National Football League. Like, if you can name me a weakness that San Francisco has, I would love to hear it. I'm not trying to be doom and gloom. Well, maybe I am, because I'm just going to say this right out of the gate. I think the Browns are going to get their asses kicked on Sunday. I don't know if Deshaun, and I don't know if Deshaun Watson's going to be there. I don't know if he's not going to be there. But, you saw what happened. If you watched the game last night, you saw what happens when you become one-dimensional against San Francisco. You're in big trouble. Really, if you become one-dimensional against any defense, including the Browns, top-flight defense, you become one-dimensional, you are in trouble. Now you're predictable. Now guys are pinning their ears back. And the Dallas Cowboys last night, net yards rushing, 59er. Not good. Deshaun Watson proceeded to throw interception number 2, number 3, and number 4 on the season. Said it was the most humbling game of his career. Well, in the words of our own Dante Whitner, Prescott sucks. Dak sucks. He actually said that on the Niners postgame. That was so good. And I think we've gone. Here's the thing with Dak. Dak hasn't always been bad, but I think Dak was kind of a guy that was easy to like because they never bought into him. It was always like he was on those one-year deals, and man, what does this guy have to do? And like I said, there were times that he was playing very good football, but the Cowboys wouldn't, give him the long-term deal. He had that very serious leg injury, the ankle break and all that, he hasn't been the same. I don't think he ever will be the same. But clearly, a guy who was talking about, thanks to the reporters this past week for motivating in him because, not talking about the shortcomings against the 49ers. Well, buddy, it didn't matter. Yeah, they kicked your ass, and they kicked the Cowboys' ass on both sides of the ball. So that's the team, San Francisco, that is coming to Cleveland this coming Sunday. And we're still not sure if Deshaun Watson's going to play. Here's my thing. During the bye week, you had to do a lot of self-grading, self-reporting, whatever, even though it's only 4 games in the season. You've had a lot happen. Obviously, you've had some unfortunate injuries, whether it be Nick Chubb, you've got some things, Jack Conklin, some things that you've got to deal with. But one thing I hope they did during the bye week, and I'm not being funny when I say this, okay? It's very serious stuff. I hope there was an effort to make sure P.J. Walker is more up to speed if he has to play this Sunday. And I'm not saying he will be. I'm not saying he has to be. I hope he doesn't because I want Deshaun Watson to play. But now we got to start talking about, is this a serious enough injury? Are we going to get to, hopefully we learned something last week that, Deshaun, if you think there's any shot that you're not going to be able to play, you got to let us know. So I think we hopefully cleared that hurdle 2 weeks ago. But I don't. Bohm, I'll say it to you. I'll ask you the question. Is there something that makes you feel good about the Browns' chances on Sunday against the 49ers?
You know what, Chico? I don't expect the Browns to win this game, just full disclosure, but I feel like this is one of those times where the Browns are going to surprise a little bit. I feel like they're going to put up a fight. It's going to...
I hope they do.
I don't expect it to be a blowout. I'll just put it that way. I have high expectations, and maybe it's not warranted because, look at how the Buckeyes came out after a bye week, right? But I'm hoping that, you would think,
Couldn't
Chico,
wait to get to the Buckeyes.
Well, no, but, I think it's appropriate here because we are going to see how this Browns team comes out against their toughest opponent maybe of the season, probably of the season, off a bye week. You have an advantage over them. They just played on Sunday Night Football. They have a quicker turnaround than you do.
And they got to fly 3,000 miles thereabout across the country.
Yep. So I really do, I expect them to put up a better fight than maybe you feel like. But, it's hard to be optimistic about them winning this game, Chico.
I guess with the Cowboys, here's the thing. I guess with the Dallas Cowboys, I see a lot of similarities between the Dallas Cowboys and the Cleveland Browns. They had, going into that game, they had, really good defense, lights-out defense, Micah Parsons and company. And what did San Francisco do? What they always do to defenses that are very aggressive. They use that aggressiveness against them. And, it was what'd they have? Close to 500 yards of total offense. Brock Purdy was 17 of 24. Nothing, not gargantuan yardage-wise, but 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, ho-hum. Christian McCaffrey. They now have an offense, and Nick Bosa was talking about this after the game, but people have been talking about it for a couple of weeks now. The Niners now have an offense where, I said this last week, every blade of grass, horizontally and vertically, you've got to defend. For the longest time, it was always, man, they stretch the field sideline to sideline. You got it. They're constantly, their offensive lines getting out to the second level. They're motioning guys. They really spread you out. They do. Now they spread you out, and they can go up top, and they've got Christian McCaffrey, oh, by the way, who's the best running back in the game, George Kittle, who hadn't been heard from in a little while, had 3 touchdowns last night. I mean, like, honestly, that was varsity playing 8th graders last night. And the Dallas Cowboys are considered to be a decent team. They're not as great as they ever are because they're always overrated because they're Dallas. But I see a lot of similarities between those two clubs, between Dallas and Cleveland. And I'm praying, and I mean literally I'm praying because this could affect guys' health. If the Browns don't have any semblance of a run game, they're going to get, I mean, it's going to be ugly. Now, I know we say, and yes, this is a good matchup. The Browns defense, the Niners offense. The Browns not only have the talent, finally, like the chess match is a good one, or at least it appears to be a good one on paper when you talk about Kyle Shanahan versus Jim Schwartz. Talk about varsity versus 8th grade, that's Kyle Shanahan versus Joe Woods, and it showed. That was pretty much any coach, unfortunately, last year against Joe Woods. And I'm not trying to kick him when he was down, but it was bad. But, like, you know that Kyle Shanahan, you know he's going to have a game plan. And I mean a good game plan. You know that, I mean, there were certain things that Dallas did try to run. But then you look at how Baltimore used that aggressiveness against the Browns in their game. Kyle Shanahan's not going to be watching that tape? Sure he is. And that San Francisco team isn't as talented, more talented than the Baltimore offense? Yes. I mean, listen, Purdy can have a bad game. The Browns' offensive line could play much better. The Browns' run game could show up. The Browns could get some turnovers. Turnovers are always the X factor in any game. But I'm just telling you, the way and this is throughout the NFL, you have 32 teams in the league. 31 of these teams, to varying degrees, are still trying to figure out, like, what we are. You know, how we're getting guys healthy. Guys are trying to get their timing down because, again, training camp offers you nothing. We all know it. You know, we say it every year. Oh, regular season's here. But it's sloppy football. And all across the league, what do we see? Injuries, sloppy football, penalty, just not good football. One team is playing good football, if not great football. And when I say one team, I mean one team. It just happens to be the team that's, like I said, coming to Cleveland Sunday at 1 o'clock. That is a well-oiled machine. And if they stay healthy, and if they're only going to get better, like, that's kind of scary. I mean, if Brock Purdy doesn't get hurt, and of course they had that debacle with the quarterback situation, if he doesn't get hurt, who's to say that San Francisco doesn't represent the NFC in the Super Bowl last year? I mean, that is a good. We talk about Nick Bosa. How about Fred Warner last night? I think Fred Warner's pretty damn good. I think when Dick Vitale says stat sheet stuffer, and I know he's talking hoops, but yeah, Fred Warner did that last night. Like, he was
all over the field, Chico, just running rampant. Do you think that the fact that Johnny Manziel watched 0 moments of film during his tenure with the Browns was on Kyle Shanahan's PowerPoint?
That's interesting. The PowerPoint that for him to get out, like, because he was under contract, but he did. I'm sure. I'm gonna guess. It had to be. I'm gonna guess that Johnny Manziel probably, if it wasn't that specific, it was in general like, hey, I told you guys that I didn't want this guy. Because I have a feeling there was maybe it will eventually come out. I have a feeling there was a majority in that front office that did not want Johnny Manziel. But again, Jimmy Haslam, when Jimmy Haslam wants somebody, it's kind of like Jerry, you know.
Did you see Mike McDaniel gave an interview and he was like, yeah, I was there when that happened. I was the one who was reading the 0 minutes of film watched.
Yeah, Mike. Yeah, that's right. Mike McDaniel was. He was
I was just trying to stay in my lane.
He was the receivers coach, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Isn't it crazy to think about like Kyle?
You had all that talent.
Kyle Shanahan
slip
Mike
through your
McDaniel,
fingertips.
But, if you don't
Look
have
at
the right
Steve Wilkes, Chico.
if you don't have the right guy at the head of the snake, if you don't have the right players, I don't want to, again. I know somebody's saying, "My God, they didn't even play this week." Yeah, I know, but if you're looking for me to be optimistic about this game, now 2 weeks from now and other games, okay, hopefully Deshaun Watson shoulder, but currently, I mean, this is what I'm thinking. You have, without a doubt, the best football team in the NFL, and it's not even a question. They just absolutely obliterated, embarrassed. They did what Roquan Smith and the Ravens would do to the Browns. That's what they did to the Dallas Cowboys. We are going to beat their asses in front of their wives and kids. That's what the Niners did last night to the Cowboys. And now the Browns, who are back on the practice field today, some back on the practice field today, I don't know. I mean, the defense, I love having Jim Schwartz because I feel like you have a chance to keep it close, but I also feel like on the defensive side of the ball, you're going to try to be, I mean, you want to be aggressive. Like, I want Jim Schwartz. We've said this all along. You want Jim Schwartz and that defense to be who they are. Being who they are is being aggressive. Now it's, can you be aggressive and be disciplined all at the same time? You have to be, because if you don't, you're going to get burned. And that's what San Francisco does. That's what Kyle Shanahan. He lulls you to sleep with certain things, with motion and this way, and your eyes are all of a sudden you're peeking in the backfield, and well, this has got to be a running play, and then Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, like it ain't easy. And the Deshaun thing's kind of bothering me a little bit. I don't know. Is this going to be something we're going to hear about all year? Because now the bye week's out of the way. I don't know. I mean, we have no idea if this guy is any better today, than he was not yesterday, but a Sunday, 8 days ago. We don't know. We have no idea. He could be just as or worse. I don't know. He's not practicing today. That's an alarming situation.
That is a majorly alarming situation, Chico. I mean, staying inside, you're trying to cover something up. There's something being hidden right now from the media and from the fans that they don't want us to know. Is this shoulder injury more serious? I mean, he already missed the game from it.
I mean, is he working out? Is he getting treatment? I don't know what that means. I don't know. Yeah,
it's a red flag, to say the least.
It's a good point, Bo. It is a red flag. By the way, coming up in about 10, 12 minutes, we're going to be talking some baseball as the baseball playoffs have begun. And, oh, boy, we've got possibly some early upsets. Anthony Castrovant's MLB.com will join us, and MLB Network, Master of the Pun. And this is 14 hours ago. Carlos Correa is currently playing with the Houston Astros, or with the Minnesota Twins, formerly with the Astros. By the way, they were booing him every at-bat when he came to the plate as a Minnesota Twin. Pablo Lopez, by the way. Yeah, he was pretty awesome. But this is what Castrovant wrote 14 hours ago. Carlos Correa with a giant hit. He really met the moment there. Remember, he was slated to go to the Giants and the Mets and kind of fell through. But that's
well done out of Castro.
Yeah, I mean, he never, ever misses an opportunity. It is, you can set your watch to it, Castro, with the puns. But we'll get his thoughts on the couple games tonight, obviously, and obviously what has taken place so far. If I'm Baltimore and I'm a Baltimore Orioles fan, I mean, I know it's easy to just say, well, you're a young team, and yeah, I do think that's part of it. But I also look at it and say, why did why did the front office not go out? They knew that pitching was going to be an issue for them. Why did you not go out and help your team? Were you too busy monitoring what your television, your pregame television show host was saying about your team, and you forgot? I don't know. Arizona and the Dodgers tonight. Diamondbacks won up in that series. Philadelphia, Atlanta, Phillies won up in that one as well. But around the NFL, we're going to get into this more in the second hour of the show. Wow. Another one. Pittsburgh beats Baltimore. I mean, Pittsburgh, that's one thing. Like, Pittsburgh is always going to be, I know everybody's looking at TJ Watt's hit on Zay Flowers where he punched him. Since when is that not allowed? I don't know. Is that not allowed? Is it allowed? It is football. Like, I feel like we've gotten so far away. He didn't lead with the head. He didn't go helmet to helmet. I don't know.
Speaking of what's not allowed in football, did you see what USC tried to do in that game where there was like a punt and 3 USC players tried to like literally drag an Arizona player to touch the football so they could recover it?
I did not see that. I did see Mario Cristobal and
oh man.
Do you know
He's
that
coming under fire today?
So Mario, and by the way, Miami's still ranked. It's like LSU last week. How is LSU still ranked? They're terrible, by the way. But Miami, they had the game won. Cristobal decided he's not going to take a knee. He kneels down, run out the clock. It's over. He decides to call a play. They fumble. Georgia Tech wins on I think it was the last second bomb. Do you know that he did the same thing in 2018 with Justin Herbert at Oregon? Same thing happened. Herbert should have taken a knee. Cristobal called a run play. They fumbled. I think it was Stanford, got the ball back. Stanford scored. Like, Mario Cristobal's a good coach. But what are you doing, dude? Like, if I'm a player, I just busted my ass for 4 quarters, and then you just, like, you had your head up your rear end for the final 30 seconds. Sorry, well, like, you gotta coach. You got to do what's right. You're supposed to know what to do in that situation, and you've already had it happen to you in your career.
Yeah, at the very least, you're supposed to learn from a mistake like that. And it feels like, I mean, to make that same brutal mistake twice, it's kind of the definition of insanity, Chico.
Yes. Yeah, that's, I mean, I don't care. I know it's, 2018, I think, is when that happened with Oregon. But I couldn't believe that. I mean, you have the game. What could you possibly? And then he started to. He didn't go all the way with it, but he started to, like, call out his running back for not having both hands on the ball or securing the ball. Don't call the damn play. I mean, if I'm Georgia Tech, I know that's the only way I have a shot at winning. So I'm gonna scratch, claw, spit in the guy's face if I have to get the football. I mean, that's reality. This is the only chance we have. Oh, wait, it's loose? Holy, yeah. Now we've got it? Now we're going to throw a bomb? What are you doing, dude? That's malpractice to your kids. Your kids busted their ass for a win. You just ruined their season because you didn't, I don't know. I don't know if ego, no, or you just had your head up your rear end, didn't know what was going on. That's crazy. I mean, that really is. That's absolutely crazy. All right, as we said, I'm going to let me just heads up here from my buddy Castro.
He did acknowledge the link, by the way.
Oh, he did? Okay,
yeah.
Good. All right, that's all I wanted to make sure. Boom, let me go back here a little bit. So Friday was Bohm's birthday, and he did not give any inclination. He didn't say it, obviously, and he gave no clues. Would you care to respond as to why? Why? Now, you gave a good reason on Twitter, but go ahead.
Yeah, Chico, I think we share similar sentiments in the how we feel about birthdays, and it's not exactly something that I want to brag about. I don't,
Thank you.
I'm not saying I don't like attention.
Sure,
but
we all do. I mean, everybody does to some degree.
That's not. It feels like unwarranted attention.
Okay, let's get to the point. Let's be right. So back in our days in radio, and I think Keith Britton was with me on this too. Like we would always we'd go back and forth on different ways that people. I'm just not a fan of trying to shoehorn, and that's putting it nicely, the fact that it's your birthday. Like let's say either it is your birthday today or the day before. And it's getting close. It hasn't popped up on anybody because nowadays it pops up on Twitter feeds, Facebook. I hadn't checked Facebook in a while. That's how I knew it was your birthday, but it was after I got home. So I yelled at you, but then you astutely said back to me, damn well that goes against the laws of the Chico Borman Show. And I'm like, damn it. My kid's growing up. You're exactly right. But somebody will say, oh, it's supposed to be sunny tomorrow. Sunny for my birthday. All right. And then they're just sitting there they're waiting on Twitter. They're looking, come on. Tomorrow's your birthday? Oh, well, happy birthday. Oh, well, gosh, thank you. Or, I don't know. It's something even more than that I've seen. Or people on Twitter. Well, here's to another year around the sun. Trip around the sun. Oh, it's your birthday? Yeah, today's my birthday. Oh, I wouldn't have guessed if you didn't tweet that. So I'm glad you tweeted that. Happy birthday. If you know it's somebody's birthday, I know a few birthdays, family,
Sure.
friends. I make a point too, and that's fine. I have some that know my birthday and reached out to me for my birthday, and some that forgot. Family that forgot. I don't care. I don't care. If it was a significant other, which if I get one, when I get one, I'll let everybody know. But if it was a significant other, okay, I get it. But I don't need everybody to know it's my birthday. Nobody, this. You think the dude driving on 90 going to an appointment is I didn't know it was Chico's. No, they're not. Yet too many people try to shoehorn it in there. Sure glad that the 49ers got a win on my birthday. I'm a big Nick Bosa fan. Were you really excited about the Niners getting a birthday or getting a win, or more excited about you finding a way to say it was your birthday? Now, here's what I wanted. Here's the meat and potatoes of this. Boom. You watched Maryland, Ohio State, right?
I did indeed.
Okay, so and Gus Johnson was on the call, your boy.
Oh, you know what call I'm thinking of already.
Oh yeah. So I may or may not have called Gus Johnson, got in touch with his representatives, and said, "Listen, Bohm is he's going to be hanging on your every word. His birthday was yesterday. Any kind of shout out." I didn't really do that. All I could think of, though, is when he said, Denzel Burke hurt heat in the kitchen. Reminds me of another kid. And then you hear Joe Klatt start laughing.
He knew it was coming.
Reminds me of another kid named Denzel. You got barbecue back there and you didn't tell me? Hurt my feelings.
Iconic.
I thought, is there a better, albeit one day late, birthday present for Bohm than Gus Johnson on the call and Gus Johnson making a reference to Denzel Ward call and upping it with a little Denzel Burke on top? It was
glorious, Chico.
I
You're
wish
right. I didn't think of it as a present, but yes, thank you, Gus.
I wish
You're
I
the
could.
best.
I wish I could have taken credit for that. I really do wish I could have taken.
That was
credit.
so amazing. Now, what was not amazing was how slow that start was, but hopefully that's just a fluke.
Yeah, when he said that, though, because I know, and I like Gus Johnson. I want to be clear. I like Gus Johnson. I like him a little more in hoops, but I like Gus Johnson. I liked him a little more in the beginning than I do now. I'm old school. So, like, I'll always, a guy like Brent Musburger is always going to, Brent and Keith Jackson are always going to be special as far as college football. All right, I'll tell you what. Let's bring this in, and I think I should I repeat the tweet, Bohm?
Absolutely.
So, and you were when we had Booney on last Tuesday or Wednesday, excuse me, and we were talking about different guests that he should get in the podcast, Tito being one, and then I said, hey, you should probably check out Castro, and you immediately. Like right on cue, you're like, oh, yeah, he's all about the puns. He's all about the puns. Anthony Kastrovitz, MLB.com, and MLB Network is joining us right now. Castro, how are you, partner?
Chico, I'm well. Happy Columbus Day to you.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
I didn't know if you had any special plans celebrating Columbus Day, if you walked around in a Brutus costume all day or what you did, but let me just say this from 14 hours ago. I said it earlier in the show before you came aboard. You will not go on Castro's feed and not find, and it might not be your favorite pun, but not find a pun altogether. So Carlos Correa now plays for the Minnesota Twins, was booed every at bat when he was playing the Houston Astros. And we all know that Correa, it was a wild offseason. He had a chance to sign with the Giants, and then that didn't go through, and then the Mets. And so this is Castro's tweet from 14 hours ago. Carlos Correa with a giant hit there. Carlos Correa with a giant hit. He really met, capital M, the moment there. I mean, do these things, are you thinking of this ahead of time or as soon as he gets the hit? Like, is it kind of like one of those for like announcers when they say, man, if this happens, I've got my call ready to go? Were you sitting there going, Carlos, get a big hit here, because if you do, I've got a pun just ready to roll?
No, I can tell you in all sincerity that these are organic, in the moment, and had they been planned, they would be even less defensible than they are now. But my head just thinks, I just watch him have this huge moment for the Twins, and you just think about, wow, he really, he didn't have much of a season for the Twins, really. He was below average offensively, he struggled with plantar fasciitis, but this guy just steps up on the postseason stage, made some great defensive plays in the wild card series, and then already some big hits, last night in Game 2 of the division series. You just think about his path to get there, and he was supposed to be a Giant, then he was supposed to be a Met. Now he's a Twin. So let's joke about it.
Anthony Kastrovitz joining us here on the Chico Borman Show on the Big Play Sports Network. The Twins and the Astros will be back at it again tomorrow on Fox Series tied at 1. All right, let's just real quick on that series. Man, Pablo Lopez. I mean, first they got that, they got the wild card and they got the long losing streak snapped. But Pablo Lopez was just absolutely outstanding. And you're looking at that series, and I'm sure many look at Houston as the prohibitive favorite. But the Minnesota Twins, because Minnesota, well, that nasty Central Division, Minnesota really ended the season very, very well. And I think it kind of maybe around here anyway, and around these parts of the country kind of got overlooked. But Minnesota was playing their best ball to end the season.
Yeah, they're great evidence of the difference between October and the 6 months of the regular season, and how, you're distilled down to your essence in October. And they were not an overwhelming they were not really deserving of the number 3 seed in the American League. It was just a product of the format, and they came out of this, very, as we know well here in Cleveland, a very weak AL Central. But then you look at them as an October team, and it's a totally different thing, because now all of a sudden, in the last month of the season, their bullpen started to come together, got a couple healthier options there. So that looks a lot different. And in a short series like this, in a best of 3, like in the wild card round, or a best of 5, like in this round, you got Pablo Lopez and Sonny Gray, who were 2 of the best starters in the American League this year. That looks a lot different. So, they were able to split with Houston in Houston, which, Houston's had their troubles at home this year, but to beat them in the division series hasn't happened since 2015, to beat them in Minute Maid Park in the division series. So, big win for the Twins there last night. And they're dangerous, because they do have a lot of power in that lineup. They can change a game with a home run at any time too. So, they're clicking right now. And Pablo Lopez, by the way, was one of the great. It was such a great trade because Luis Arias goes to the Marlins and, flirted with 400 for half the year. Was obviously an impact player for the Marlins. The Twins took on the bigger risk there with Lopez because, moving up to the north, and I think he'd only had one really full, innings load season was last year. I think he threw about 180 innings. So, you never know with pitching, but he's been fantastic for them. He's been a true ace.
Yeah, and he was kind of overshadowed by Alcantara in the Cy Young year. But yeah, you're right. He has been absolutely outstanding. Okay, I want to ask you something. I know Rosenthal wrote about it today, and I think he pointed out the way he presented it was the right way. He's like, look, nobody's saying that a 5-day layoff is a difference between. This is why some teams are on the brink of elimination and some teams aren't. But we all know that these series, the playoff series, playoff format's never going to be perfect. Do you think the 5-day layoff is something that hurts the favorites here with that bye and with 5 days and waiting to play?
Well, a lot of thoughts on that. So, ever since we went to an LCS, ever since we expanded the playoffs past 2 teams, you're immediately lessening the degree of importance placed on the regular season. And of course, we all know it's only been reduced further in the decades since. And with each subsequent expansion, it changes the equation. I personally liked the 1-game wild card. I know a lot of people within the game and fans had their issues with it. Your 162 game season coming down to a single game. But I did think it allowed, to get the division winners back in the swing of things fairly quickly, to give them the edge of, more time to prepare and a few days to rest up their top arms and face a team that had to, go through an extra round, even though that round was only 1 game. They had to burn their best available pitcher for that game. So I like that. However, even in that format, we did have instances like the 2018 Red Sox, the 2021 Braves. Both of those teams had, I believe it was 4 full days off, prior to the division series, and they both won the World Series. So it's obviously can be done. I think you'd still rather have, those, even if it's 5 full days of rest. I think most teams would sign up for that over playing in that opening best of 3, because anything can happen in a best of 3 series. I think what's been surprising, what we've seen so far in these best of 3 is, and most of them have been sweeps. All but one of them in the last 2 years have been sweeps. You go back to that 2020 season where they used that format on a wider basis, and I think it's 13 out of 16 are sweeps. So that's been eye-catching. And then it is noticeable to me that I was actually just looking at this. So the under the old format, the top seed resting, division winner resting against an unrested wild card opponent, went 14-4 in game 1s. Under this new format, last year and this year, those same teams, and now it's top 2 seeds, not just the top seed, they get that rest against a unrested wild card. They are 4-4, so already as many losses in 2 years as in the entirety of that previous format. And that's just game 1. But game 1's big at a best of 5. I think it's like 71% of teams that win game 1 go on to win the series. So, long-winded way of saying, I don't know. I think there's definitely a point to that. I think it's pretty clear that you play baseball every day and you get a longer break than the All-Star break. When you're in those top two seeds, and that can be disadvantageous. It's antithetical to the nature of the sport. However, with any wild cards, there's challenges that come with that. It used to be that the wild cards didn't have any disadvantage at all, really, other than opening the division series at home. So then we went to that wild card round of the single game that has disadvantages where everything comes down to one game. So they expand to best of three, and now that has disadvantages because that's the wait for the division winner. So MLB had proposed a 14-team format that the players turned down. That's how we ended up with 12 teams. MLB proposed a 14-team format where only the top seed would have this extra rest, but that doesn't really address this problem, obviously, because they would still have the 5 days. So I don't know. I think we need to see more before we can come to any real conclusions. But I do think it's a valid topic. I'll just say that.
Let's take a look at these games tonight. You got Phillies and the Braves, Diamondbacks, Dodgers. Phillies lead that series 1-0. I look at both of these and the teams that have taken the lead in the series, and granted, albeit just one game, they didn't even pitch their ace. So both Philly has Zach Wheeler and Wheeler. You tell me, but Wheeler, I don't know where that velocity came from. Was that strictly adrenaline in the postseason? But he looked like a different guy. And then, the Diamondbacks are sitting there probably going, hey, nobody really gives us a chance to beat the Dodgers. We got game one. Now we get Zach Gallen on the mound later tonight around 9 o'clock. So I don't know. How probable do you think it is that we get to, and I know it's only one game, but we get to a National League championship series without Atlanta, without the Dodgers? Who's more in trouble? That would really
be something, yeah. I think the Dodgers are more in trouble just as a function of their pitching staff. I mean, it does help them, the format of this round where, they even had an extra off day now. Yesterday is that extra off day because of this format. And that helps a team like them where they're really trying to get by with zero rotation whatsoever. Even more so now that we saw where Clayton Kershaw was at, in game one. It was brutal to watch. And, their rotation is not going to have guys who can go into the 6th inning. And so they're really going to be relying heavily on that bullpen. And they can still pull it off because, as I said, the off days kind of work in their favor for this round in particular. But that was a brutal loss. And the Diamondbacks, they got an interesting postseason lineup because they do have a lot of athleticism, a lot of speed, and they can be fun to watch when they're rolling. And now they send out one of the best starters in the National League, Zach Gallen, in game 2. So it's amazing how quickly everything gets flipped on its head when the underdog is able to take game 1. It changes a lot. And the Phillies were always a threat to the Braves. I think we knew that coming in. I don't think we expected the Braves to be shut out at home for the first time all year in game 1. But, the Braves have some major question marks pitching-wise.
Yeah.
So, that could rear its ugly head. We know the Phillies did this to them last year. So they're both in trouble. That's the gist of it, Chico. But, I still trust the Braves more than the Dodgers just because I do think they have better depth of pitching than the Dodgers do right now. But, they're also playing a more difficult opponent, though, too. The Phillies are probably a better opponent than the D-backs.
Max Fried is getting the start tonight, right?
Yeah, he's had blister issues. And so, that's part of the difficulty the Braves are facing here. It's not terribly dissimilar to last year, where, they play great for 6 months, but if your pitching's not lined up right, or, if guys aren't feeling right at this time of year, everything is magnified and amplified. And it doesn't matter if you have the 27 Yankees lineup like they do statistically this year. It can end in a hurry.
A few more minutes with Anthony Kastrovitz, MLB.com and MLB Network, joining us here as the playoffs roll on in Major League Baseball. Let me just, before I ask you a couple of Guardians questions, let me ask you about this Baltimore-Texas series because, I think for starters, you look at Baltimore and all year long you said, man, this is a great team, a great story. I love the fact that, most of the time, this better than anybody. A guy like Brandon Hyde, he simply is going to, guide. He's going to be the sacrificial lamb. And then, we've got our young guys are now good. you're going to go and we're going to get somebody else in here. They didn't do that. So there's a lot of praise for them, and I like the way they went about it. But a couple of things here. Why did Texas went out and they tried to get better and they tried to improve their pitching and everything, and they're up 2-0 in the series. I don't know if it helps with Baltimore if they do go out and land somebody, but did it seem like, they kind of left that team hanging, not giving them any kind of help there at the deadline?
It's yes and no. I mean, yes, but also, these conversations, you have to have something to latch onto. Like, they should have gone out and gotten this, and the deadline did not present a lot of that. It was a tough market to significantly improve your starting pitching. I mean, they got Jack Flaherty, and that was a risk, and I think he showed why. He didn't really work out in their rotation. Jordan Montgomery has pitched great for the Rangers, so he would have been nice. The Rangers also added Max Scherzer. He got hurt. Eduardo Rodriguez was out there, and he, opted to stay with Detroit. Just the inventory was pretty low in terms of really changing your season, I think, mid-season on the pitching front. And they had a terrible injury, Felix Bautista, late in the year, in the bullpen. But it's interesting because I thought their starting pitching was in a much better spot going into October than their relief pitching, because Grayson Rodriguez was great as the year evolved, and he was not so great in game 2. It is, I think the more pointed critique for me is less the trade deadline, again, because of the inventory, and more going back to last winter. And that's crazy to say because this team finished with the best record in the American League. But, last winter was the greater opportunity to really meaningfully, inject some experience or what have you into your pitching staff. And yeah, it turns out they didn't need it to win the AL East, but it seems like it would help them right now. But at this, I say that also saying that it's really hard to critique the Orioles. I mean, they're in a really good spot for the foreseeable future. I mean, they got so much talent, and sometimes you have to go through an experience like they're going through right now. And maybe they've met the challenge many times this season where they've been down within games, or they were down considerably to the Rays in the American League East and storm back. So they can storm back in this series. The Rangers have their own pitching issues in the back end. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that the Orioles win 3 in a row here. But even if they don't, I mean, this is a huge step forward for the organization this season. And sometimes these young teams, go through a loss like this before moving on to bigger and better things.
I mentioned Brandon Hyde, and I again, he's done an incredible job, and I'm glad that they kept him. I don't know. It seemed like he wasn't prepared, if that's the right word, when Rodriguez didn't have it, and it seemed like he burned through the entire bullpen. Do you have a long, like you mentioned Jack Flaherty? Should that be your long man in that situation to kind of save some of those arms? Because it felt like he didn't really have a contingency plan if Rodriguez didn't pitch well, and he didn't.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And then you have the off day the next day, so it's probably a good moment to be aggressive with the hook. And I don't know, Flaherty is kind of a wild card.
Yeah, sure.
But their bullpen's just not the force it was earlier in the year without Bautista, and everybody kind of playing out of position as a result. And they had one of the worst strikeout rates from their bullpen in September of any team, which is surprising, but that's just kind of, it just goes to show why I think you would maybe have less confidence in that bullpen now than you did at the middle part of the year. But yeah, with the off day, I think there's a strong argument to be more aggressive when you see your starter just doesn't have it.
What's your all-time, if you have one, your all-time favorite Tito Francona story?
Oh, wow.
I put you on the spot there. I should have giving you a heads up. I
mean, that whole 2016 run was just incredible. Tactically and the stories behind the scenes, and the stuff you guys know about with waking up with
ice cream,
eating way too many popsicles, eating way too much ice cream all over, and pizza all over, and peanut butter in his glasses, all that stuff. that was a really special time, and he was managing his butt off. That team was really special because they had no business going to Game 7 of the World Series, with two starters down, and rolling Josh Tomlin out there, and guys like that. I mean, they really pulled together as a club, and it was a big tribute to him. I thought, he did a great job with that team. And my favorite, I probably told you this before, but just my favorite moment with him personally was just when they clinched the American League Championship, and in his office in Toronto. I was like, working the clubhouse and getting quotes for people, and I happened by his office. He's alone in there smoking a cigar, so I pop in and we chat for a while, and I got to express to him how much I know this means to my hometown, and I asked him about his dad, and have you heard from your dad yet? And he said, "Oh, watch this." He's got his phone in a duffel bag, buried in a duffel bag, and pulls it out, and he flips through it, and he's got a million phone calls. But sure enough, the very first one from like the second of Carlos Santana caught the last out. It said missed call from dad, and there's a voicemail. So he told me he'd be the first call, and sure enough, he was. And he expressed to me in that moment, like, I was like, think about that, the heaviness of that, where there's his dad who played for the team, and it was a relationship with the front office, but it was also that family tie to Cleveland that inspired him to come to Cleveland, and most people in his position would not. Two-time World Series winning manager, could have his pick of the litter in terms of managerial openings, and he came to little old Cleveland, and low revenue, payroll challenges, all that stuff, all the crap that comes with that. And he took it on and really quickly made them a winner, and it was great. And I know it meant a lot to him to win the pennant here. It really did. I think it meant just as much to him as winning the World Series in Boston, because it was such a different circumstance. Boston was loaded with stars, and those are challenges too. Managing David Ortiz and Manny Ramirez is its own challenge.
Right.
But I think most managers would rather have those challenges than, we're out of starters. Let's start Ryan Merritt in the American League Championship Series. I think you'd rather deal with the egos than deal with that challenge. But he managed both situations, and oh, by the way, took a team with the youngest roster in MLB last year to Game 5 against the Yankees. So I mean, he managed every type of team and had success with all of them. So I give him a lot of credit.
Boom! Stop laughing. He had a slip of the stop. Be professional. Be mature. My gosh.
I caught that.
Yeah, that's Bohm's all over. He's just laughing his ass off over there. All right.
That and there you go.
The other thing too with that, how many situations do you know of where like a front office is essentially saying, "Look, we want you, but we like you so much. We want you to know that this is what you're up against." Almost like we want to bring you in, but we don't want to bring you in. And then Tito comes up with the PowerPoint presentation like, "Look, guys, I want to be here." Like you won't ever find a situation like that again, I think.
No, that was really one of a kind. It took everything. Like I said, it took the family element with his dad is the heart of it. And then, Mark Shapiro is on the treadmill next to him at the winter meetings one year, and they strike up a friendship, and it leads to him. That's his first job, in any kind of, I guess, front office capacity, and kind of learn the ins and outs of that, and scouting and whatnot for them. And it becomes a real relationship over the years that they were able to capitalize on, but they were honest with him. Like you said, Chico, that is really important. They were very honest with him from the beginning, and he was honest with them. And I thought he said it perfectly last week, where he said, he came here for the right reasons. He's leaving for the right reasons this time. I think he's right about that. And everything in between was great. It really was. It was just a really franchise shaping tenure, which is rare anymore, with managers. That's become unusual, but this was an unusual situation from the beginning. For him to even come here was unusual.
So let me, in closing, I'll ask you, and I don't expect you to have any name right off but is there any? We've read and heard about different names, different clubs that have ties to the Guardians. I think it's going to be a very thorough search. A lot of people thought it was just going to be in-house, and I never bought that. But is there? Can you give us a couple names and maybe one, if you have one, that you feel is kind of a dark horse in all this?
Oh, I don't know about dark horse, but I mean, I think everybody knows that Kevin Cash would be the absolute like dream get.
Do you think he
And
would? Do you think he would leave?
I don't know. I know him a little bit, but I don't know him well enough to say what would happen. He's under contract for next year with the Rays, and they've really built something special there. Sustainable team with serious revenue issues in a loaded division and routinely, competitive, if not, at the top of the heap in that division. So I don't know, but yeah, that's just the natural successor given the relationship with Tito, and just it would be like the natural handoff, but that doesn't always work out. No, to me, I mean, I just think this is, I don't know who should be the next manager, and turns out I don't get to choose the next manager anyway. But to me,
they didn't let you choose the nickname
right
either. They didn't let you choose the nickname either. You wanted
No,
spiders,
I know my poll is not what it could be, I guess. But no, I just think that this guy has had such a commanding presence for such a long time, Tito, and been here for so long. And I think when you combine that with coming off of a really bad year, where a lot of things blew up in their face and a lot of developmental steps were not taken, and some of the issues within the organization were kind of exposed when it comes to developing hitters and whatnot. I just think it's a really good moment for them to see what's out there, and get other perspectives. And, there's always temptation to just go internally because that, it's a known quantity, what you have. But I think there is probably some value to be gained from getting some outside perspectives, whether you hire them or not, to at least hear them and see where it goes from there. And like you said, I think it's a pretty wide search, and you're seeing some really obscure names.
Yeah.
As part of that. And that's how it should be. I think it should be as you got plenty of time. They got all month. You're not doing anything this month, that's for sure. So and they've had plenty of time to think about it too. The last 6 weeks or so of the regular season too. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot of discussions, and there are a lot of discussions already.
How emotional were you when you heard that Bruce Springsteen had to shut it down with the? It was that
very, very.
day.
I had tickets to 3 shows in September, and they all got banged. And but it worked out, Chico, because now they're spread out through 2024 nicely, as opposed to all compact in the month of September. But I don't have to point out that when you postpone shows at that age, and the age of the band. I mean, you use the word postpone, but like that's a dangerous. You don't want to be pushing out things, a year, 2 years. That's the years get longer, they get bigger.
I only recently found out that his drummer is it plays that character in Sopranos, thanks to Bohm. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was his guitar.
No, the guitar player, Little Steve, his right hand man, Steve Van Zandt.
Yeah.
And the drummer, Max Weinberg, was Conan O'Brien's drummer for many years on Late Night. So they have backup plans should things ever go south with the E Street Band.
AT,
they're prepared.
AT, what do you think? AT. Castro, you're the best, buddy. Appreciate on a very busy Columbus Day. We appreciate you taking time. I know you got the kids back there as well. Enjoy your coverage, man. Keep up the great work, and we'll talk to you soon, pal.
All right, Chico. Always a pleasure, man. Good to see you.
Thank you. Anthony Kastrovitz, MLB.com and MLB Network. Yeah, so I'm not surprised. Like, I figured he had at least for one show, but yeah, that's Castro. Like, he has been to, I forget what the number is. He's written about it. He's been to like 50 of them, I think. I mean, there are Springsteen fans, and then, I mean, Castro's in that group. Boom, he loves them.
And my uncles are like that too. Like, they go to anytime he's around. I mean, maybe not as dedicated as Castro,
right.
But they did take me to a show to see the Boss once, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, Bruce knows how to put on a show. That whole band. And this was, by the way, when Clarence. Yeah, this was when Clarence Clemens was still around. Rest in peace. But one of the greatest sax players of all time. And yeah, Chico, they put on a show. They know what they're doing.
They put on a show. Yeah, that was when I saw the first person I thought of. This tells you how much I know Castro loves Bruce. The first person I thought of was Castro. Was like, oh man, he's going to be devastated to hear that, but able to spread them out across next year. All right, 1 hour is in the books. We still have fair to foul, fair to foul, or fair or foul. See now, we'll see.
It works.
We'll see what Bohm was able to take in from Friday. I feel bad that we had to do that on his birthday, but I thought it was if I have to brag, I thought it was a pretty good fair or foul. I thought Bohm received pretty well. Again, it was a role reversal. We called it role play. Are you ready for fair or foul? Did you learn anything? Did you? Because my fear, Bohm, is that you kind of just went with it, and then we're gonna do it today, and you really didn't learn anything.
I feel like I had some takeaways from Friday's edition of Fair or Foul, but is it fair to foul, Chico?
It's fair or foul, Bohm. Fair or foul.
I'm just asking you, like, is it fair to foul?
Is it fair to foul? Yeah.
I think that might.
You're giving me a headache.
I think
already.
that's fair.
All right. Folks, if you need bet credits for football season, who doesn't? The Big Play Network presented by Tipico Sportsbook. Tipico Sportsbook app has your traditional bets like the money line, spread, and point totals, but you can also lock in player props and check out our Big Play boosts every single week to back your favorite Cleveland teams and athletes with the best odds in Ohio. Get in on the action. Load up for football season using promo code Chico150. That's Chico, CHICO 150 to get $150 in bet credits on us, plus a $30 dog pound bet. Bet with the Big Play crew all season long with Tipico Sportsbook. We'll step aside. We come back. Fair at foul, fair or foul. Yeah, we're going to play whatever that game is. And Bohm, we'll see if Bohm learned anything from Friday's edition. We'll be back with more of the Chico Borman Show right after this on the Big Play Sports Network. Alrighty, welcome back. Chico Borman Show on a Monday. Little overcast. Boy, fall really kind of, I don't know if I can't remember if it was Thursday into Friday or Friday into Saturday, but when fall arrived, she arrived with a gusto of wind, I tell you. Still a little, yeah, I love it though. I know people on Twitter over the weekend were like, I hate this. Give me summer back. No freaking way. And I like summer. Summer serves its purpose, but so does fall. And now it's October. It's time for fall. It's time for a little bit of a chill in the air. It's time for great sleeping weather to go along with great sports. Yeah, it's fine. All right. Chico Borman Show with you till 2. You can chime in if you would like to, email the show. You can do that, although who emails anymore? You can tweet the show at Chico Show CLE. Also, get us on YouTube. Apparently, we've got Ronald who has a question. Boom. What does Ronald have to say?
Well, first off, Ronald, thank you for the belated birthday wish. But also, he did ask prior to that.
Kisser.
Does Anthony think that Sandy should take the job as in reference to Sandy Alomar?
No.
Or is it a good option as manager?
Sandy doesn't think Sandy is going to take the job because Sandy declined it. I think this is something we addressed before, and I appreciate the question, Ronald. People just assumed for the longest time that, like, Sandy, and I'm sure there was a time that it interested him, probably right before Tito got it. He's interviewed with other clubs. I don't want to say that ship has sailed, but I think Sandy is he's happy with where he's at. And by that, I mean, like, not necessarily just Cleveland, but the position he's at. There's a lot of responsibility, media responsibility that goes along with it, an everyday thing that can wear on you. But no, I'm going to say that Castro doesn't think Kevin Cash is interesting because, Kevin Cash and Tampa have built something really, really great. I mean, they just continue to churn out players, but, how much longer are they going to be there? They're going to have to move, and, the fans don't really come out for them. And I know there's a joke for many of you out there, but Guardians did eclipse 2 million this year in fans. Would Kevin Cash? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. He still has some decisions to make, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. All right, Bohm. So Friday we had to take drastic measures on your birthday, which at the time I did not know. But I played the role of giver. You received fair or foul. Easy E. Checking in outside the studio. Bohm, it's time for a little fair or foul. What do you got for me?
Chico, I don't even think you realized it, but that was like the perfect birthday gift. That was like the easiest fair or foul ever. With that said,
it was fun. I had actually fun being on the other side of it. I made a poll. I didn't make a poll. I don't know how to make polls, but should we change it up for a while? Should we go a week?
Even like once a week.
Once a week where I give
the role reversal. I like it.
You think that's all right? All right, maybe we'll do that on Fridays then. We'll make it a Friday thing.
Yeah.
All right.
A perfect Friday gift for me.
Friday. All right, go ahead.
All right, Chico. Well, I want to kick things off with NFL in London.
Okay.
You sound like you're from London. But anyways, so the Jaguars played 2 weeks in a row in London. Meanwhile, the Buffalo Bills had to travel out there, and they did end up losing. Now, I see a little bit of fuss being raised about the travel and the things that are required in terms of when you're playing across the pond. It seems like there's a significant advantage for Jacksonville, who stayed a week in London, and then Buffalo has to travel out like just a couple days before the actual matchup. Fair or foul, do you think that this approach to playing football overseas needs to be reevaluated?
Yeah, I totally do. Fair. It does need to be reevaluated. Do I think it will be? No, because Roger really doesn't give a damn what the players think, as long as it makes money. I'm all for, I'm all for expanding your product and getting it out there, but, try to have why was Jacksonville there twice? I don't understand that. I mean, it's an unfair play, and I'm not saying that's the reason they won the game, but like Josh Allen, when you talk about complaining, like, yeah, he complained. He's like, damn, I'm just, I'm out of it. I'm trying to get my body clock right. Even Stephon Diggs called his quarterback a sleepyhead. But I mean, I'm not a huge fan of those games. But then at the same time, like, I don't want to deprive folks over in London, kids especially, from going to games. But for me, I don't get excited about it. And I think for the NFL, like, it does the players more harm than good. It's kind of like, you know what it is? It's kind of like Thursday night football. Like, are you doing the players any good? No, it does them much more harm than good, but that money does eventually find their way into their contract, so that's how they justify it. But I don't like it. I'm not a big fan of it.
All right, Chico. Well, I want to move to the AFC North now, where the Bengals taking on not a very highly thought of opponent in a lot of I guess amongst NFL fans, the Arizona Cardinals.
Okay.
That being said, though, Joe Burrow, his stat line, 36 of 46, 317 yards, 3 tutties, and an INT. Now, Jamar Chase was the recipient of all of those touchdowns.
I'm bleeping open, damn it. I'm bleeping open.
Fair or foul, Chico. Joe Burrow is back.
Well, okay, I will say this. He looked, remarkably better. Like, he definitely improved. And it wasn't just throwing the football and he looked great. He had a run for 10 yards for a first down that I think 2 weeks ago, heck, Nick Shook and I were just talking about this last week, where I don't even think he attempts that run. So he clearly is feeling better. Now, what I wonder is, you were playing in Phoenix and the temperature was like 96, 98 degrees. It'll get a little stretched out and flexible and feeling pretty good in that kind of weather. But no, I think I don't think you could walk away from that game, watching that game and thinking, oh my, look out, Cincinnati, here they come. Even if he's not 100%, and I wasn't even expecting it. Like, we didn't hear anything all week like, oh, he feels better. It was a matter of you wanted to see him not just plant that foot and drive the ball downfield, which he did, primarily to Jamar Chase, who I think had 15 catches on the day, but it was scrambling around. It was doing things in the pocket, out of the pocket, the 10-yard scamper. Like, those are things that Joe Burrow hadn't done to date and hadn't really even looked close to being able to do until yesterday in Arizona. And like I said, I think most of it is, yeah, he's feeling much better. I wonder if part of it was it's damn near 100 degrees, and that thing's able to get loose a lot more than it is in southern Ohio in October, November, December. But they look different. Yeah, he looked different.
You think he heard Jamar Chase's comments in the locker room after last week?
Oh, he definitely heard him.
Oh, he did.
I'm sure Jamar's told him that.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they have a pretty good relationship.
I think they do, too. I mean, obviously, dating back to their college days, that rapport that they had built even before coming to the league. But
I think Joe was I would think he was very tentative, just trying to go downfield because, again, he knew he couldn't put what he wanted to on the football. But as I said, more people are talking about that 10-yard run than they are any pass that he made in that game. So
we'll see if Joey B can keep it going. Keep the
will,
party
Bo.
rolling.
We will, Bo.
All right, Chico. Well, I want to talk a little bit about SNF, Sunday Night Football, because obviously those 49ers, well, they're coming to town next week. They look pretty freaking good. With that said, it's amazing to me to see, like, Brock Purdy's success with the 49ers. I think it's incredible. Obviously, talented quarterback out of Iowa State who, he was a very good college quarterback. I did not foresee this out of Mr. Purdy in the NFL. But he's executing. He's being efficient. He's making a lot of the right throws. Fair or foul, Chico? Brock Purdy is elite.
Well, you're dangerously close to these. No, he's not elite. Like, I mean, I'll tell you what, he is playing right now at an elite level. Here's the thing that defines elite for me. That if I'm going to call you elite, you have had to do it for a while. Now, he is 10-0 in the regular season games. I already brought it up earlier. I think many people are these days. Like, you do wonder if he doesn't get hurt in that championship game, is it San Francisco playing for the Super Bowl and not Philadelphia? Very good question. What Brock Purdy has, I mean, he has all the, you got to have the physical tools and got to be able to have the velocity and read things. But he is so poised. And those are the things that when you look at the great ones, they have it. Like, the stage is just not too big. The light's not too bright. He goes through, his first read, his second read, his third read. He's just so poised back there. And it's hard not to think, and I'm not comparing the two and saying this is what he is and he's Tom Brady and blah, blah, blah. What I am saying is that, for a late round pick like Brady was, like, he kind of has that same, he's a gym rat, he's a film rat, and he has a poise on game day that you either have or you don't have. Well, he's got it. So now, if he plays this season and San Francisco ends up getting to the Super Bowl, maybe even winning a Super Bowl, Purdy stays healthy, and he continues to play at this level, then yeah, you start having that conversation. But again, he's got to do it throughout the season. But here's the thing. He's very capable of doing that. And as we talk about many, many times, the system you end up in is also very important. It's perfect for him. It's perfect for the Niners. They're a dangerous team. Oh, shoot. They're in Cleveland this Sunday, aren't they? Yikes.
Yeah, Chico. Well, speaking of that 49ers team, it's interesting because obviously a few former Browns coaches are on that staff, one of them being Steve Wilks, who, of course, had some success as a defensive coordinator with Carolina. Not so much in Cleveland. In fact, it was kind of awful in Cleveland. But now looks like he's coordinating one of the best defenses in the NFL. Fair or foul, Chico, are you buying into this Steve Wilks resurgence as one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL?
Because of
how well things are going, I guess, with San Francisco's defense. He has a lot of great personnel, but at the end of the day, it does fall back on the coaches.
Yeah, I mean, look, I obviously we know here better than anywhere that you can have all the talent in the world if the guy calling the shots and the guy coaching you up every day is not doing what he should do, or not what somebody else could do. In this case, Jim Schwartz as opposed to Joe Woods. It's a big difference. I do think that defense, though, when you start looking at some of the guys that have been around together, obviously I'm talking about a Nick Bosa, but a Fred Warner, they've had guys together for a while. I really don't think their scheme has changed much. I mean, they are very aggressive, and to that end, and this is what scares the hell out of me for Sunday, is that now you can use that aggression against them, much like San Francisco, I'm sure, will use the Browns' aggressiveness on defense against them. But if you become, more to come on this in a moment, if you become very predictable, or you become, you're only able to do one thing and you can't run the football, you're in big, big trouble against those guys. I hope that's not the case on Sunday, but I fear that it will be the case on Sunday.
Well, if I could go back in time, I would rephrase it as Steve Wilks was not the problem, the Browns were the problem. Because I feel like that's kind of the case.
Boom, you're learning. I could see the light bulb go off above your head. It was really a thing of beauty. It really was.
I'm on to something here.
Yeah.
All right, Chico. Well, moving on. Want to talk about that? Crazy back and forth in that final quarter between C.J. Stroud's Texans and the Atlanta Falcons, where it looked like C.J. Stroud was going to lead them to victory, but then Lo and behold, the Falcons drive down the field and come away with the game-winning field goal.
Desmond Ridder. Don't call me dead just yet.
You know where I'm going with this, Chico. Ridder, so 28 of 37, 329 yards, 1 passing touchdown, also a rushing touchdown. With that said, Chico, are you buying Desmond Ridder as an NFL starter?
No, I'm not. I'd love to see it happen. I don't think he can make all the throws. I don't think he like all the things we're talking about with Brock Purdy. And again, the system is important, and the fact that but it's not like he doesn't have any weapons. I mean, Kyle Pitt. What happened? Well, I think Kyle Pitt's problem is Kyle Pitt's problem too.
He was the leading receiver.
Yeah, but up to that point, he hasn't done anything all year long. And from what I'm hearing, the main reason for that is when he came out of Florida, he was we all knew he could catch the football, but he just doesn't want to block. And matter of fact, he's a liability at it. There's some weapons there. Obviously, we know they drafted Bijan Robinson a year after they had a 1,000-yard rusher. So I think that's kind of where they're geared towards. I just don't know if Desmond Ridder, when you just watch his command of the offense, it just doesn't feel like it's the same as, other guys. Guy like we just mentioned in Brock Purdy, other than guys like that.
Sure. Now, commencing fourth on today's edition of Fair or Foul.
Yes, Paul.
I think this is my last NFL question. We'll see if anything else comes to me. But with that said,
so Chico, obviously that preparation thing you really took to heart from Friday.
I did put in some prep. I did plan out these questions, Chico. I want to ask you about Mac Jones because, I think right now it feels safe to say that he's probably the worst starting quarterback in the game, like just how he's playing right now.
That's
in the past,
actually a good question. Wow, that's Matt. Wow, that's a good. Go ahead.
Okay, let's start there, and then I got another one for you. See, like I might have multiple. Sometimes it just happens, spur of the moment. Fair or foul, Mac Jones is the worst starting quarterback in the NFL right now.
Well, I didn't want you to ask this because then I got to go through every single. Is he the worst? He's in the worst situation, and I guess I'll say right now, if I were to say you had to pick quarterback and offense combined, like just that offense, I would say New England is probably, and I can't believe I'm saying that. Not that they've ever been a juggernaut, but you read scouts. That's why I love, different websites, and they have, great writers, and the writers will talk to scouts anonymously and just say, hey, look at these guys and tell me what you think. And by and large, we're going to talk to Christopher Price, who covers the Patriots tomorrow. They're so bad that I felt the need to call Christopher.
It's that bad.
Yeah, I'm like, normally, Patriots aren't coming to town, but I'm like, this is so bad. And they're talking about Belichick hot seat and that Robert Kraft is pissed off that I've got to get Christopher on. So we're going to talk to him on tomorrow's show. I would say yes if we're going to talk about quarterback and system and all of that combined. Do I think he's the worst quarterback in the league? No. I've seen him play at a pretty decent level.
He's been better.
But they have all these scouts, they have no speed, nothing. Their offensive line is terrible. They brought in Zeke Elliott, which is nice. Ramondre Stevenson, he hasn't done it. They're bad. And they've got honestly, one scout said they have absolutely no speed whatsoever. Like, they are, without a doubt, the slowest team in the NFL. And now on top of it, you go to the other side of the ball. And I know we're talking offense, but on the other side of the ball, they lost Judon, and they lost Christian Gonzalez, the rookie DB. But offensively, my God. They have guys, you might run a 40 time faster than some of their wideouts, Bone. Possibility.
And you mentioned Bill, and I feel like if you're a Patriots fan right now, you're more concerned with Bill getting that all-time coaching wins record than you are with winning a Super Bowl, because it just feels so out of the realm of possibility, considering how tough things have been so far with the Patriots in the Mac Jones era.
Well, and he really there have been a few things. This is something I can't wait to get into again, I know, with Christopher tomorrow, but I wonder, because he does care about that record. This is not a guy that is, he wants that record very badly, but he's also made some comments, whether it was not just the Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift thing, joking around, but like when he was talking about, well, think about what we've done in the past. He never used to talk about things like that, right? So it's like he's kind of giving hints that he's actually mortal. No, I mean, if you're Robert Kraft, there's no way you're not going to fire him. But
You kind of can't. He's basically on tenure.
But I mean, this is where, and they've, their relationship has gone south a little bit after the whole Brady thing. I don't know. I mean, I really, because he wants that record. I mean, make no mistake, Bill Belichick wants that Don Shula record.
It's definitely a big deal.
But they are a bad, bad football team right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So with all that said, the original question that I had concocted, Chico, fair or foul?
Concocted, I like that.
I love that word.
Yeah.
Fair or foul? I don't use that word enough. Mac Jones will not make it through the season as the starting quarterback for the Patriots.
I'll go fair on that. And it can be for any reason. Is that what you're...
For any reason.
Yeah. Injury, poor play. Oh, no. I mean, their offensive line's awful, too. I mean, he can't move. Like, he is one of the most unathletic quarterbacks you're going to find. Now, again, you surround him with the right people, and as long as he can do just enough in the pocket, okay, no big deal. I mean, he doesn't have to be Randall Cunningham, for God's sake, but good reference.
I loved Randall.
Oh, I loved Randall Cunningham, too. I loved watching him play. But, I mean, why wouldn't you think that he's not going to make it a full? We're only 5 games in. With 12 more to play, and that he's got a bullseye on him. Plus, they can't stop anybody now on defense because they lost 2 of their best players. I mean, it is ugly in New England. It is ugly in New England.
Randall Cunningham was like my early NFL watching days, and then you had Randy Moss in Minnesota, who was my favorite player. Like, my first favorite NFL player was Randy Moss, and then Dante Culpepper came in. I just love that name.
I remember watching Randall as a kid with the Eagles.
Yeah.
He was new. And it was a Monday Night Football game, and he rolled out to his right, and he waited, and everybody thought he was going to run, including the defense. They're kind of just waiting. And then finally, someone blitzed the hell, like he just said, screw this. I was almost said something else. Screw this. I'm going after him. And he did get to him, and he kind of did the splits. He basically was down, but at the last second threw the ball, and it was a perfect strike to his tight end in the right corner of the end zone. And I'm like, this guy is a freak. I mean, you didn't hear about him because he played for UNLV, but oh my God, yeah, he was fun to watch, Randall Cunningham.
It was Caleb Williams-esque, huh? Just kidding.
I remember saying that at the time. That's
The,
basically it.
the Nostradamus that you were.
Yeah.
By the way, Randy Moss and Chris Carter, maybe the greatest receiver duo of all time. I mean, you go down the list.
I can go with that. See, this is what see, you love these that would normally, these you could bring up during commercial breaks when we're out watching the Browns game or something.
Uh-huh.
But for you, but that's, if you want to bring it up here, yes.
I mean, I'm just riffing.
I have. Well, and don't forget they had Jake Reed too. But as far as duos,
shout out Jake Reed. Hope you're well.
Jake Reed, Matthew Hatchett, pride of Jefferson, Ohio.
Hey,
Played with my cousins in high school.
Oh,
Matthew
that's cool.
Hatchett.
Look at that. How about that for a claim to fame?
Chris Carter and Randy Moss, yeah. I mean, in their primes, they were. Good luck with that.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, moving on to the college game, Chico. I want to talk about one in particular. How about that Red River rivalry? Man, what a finish.
Dillon Gabriel. Good for Dillon. I kind of wanted to see Texas win because I don't hate Texas. But
I do like Quentin Ewers, obviously.
Dillon Gabriel, this guy last year couldn't play because of a concussion. And
he looks legit.
Imagine going a full year, that eating at you. Good for him, man. Because he played his ass off in that final drive. That final pass, that pocket was collapsing, and he just threw an absolute dime.
With that said, Chico, so Oklahoma was ranked 12 going into that game. I didn't see what they were ranked today in the AP poll.
I've seen some individual polls that have them at 1.
So that's what I want to ask you, Chico. Are you, fair or foul, you're viewing Oklahoma as a legitimate national championship contender?
Does Dylan play baseball? Was he drafted?
Oops.
Yeah, only because I think it's so wide open. Like, I mean, if they didn't beat Texas, obviously no, but that's a signature win. Gabriel's good. We've known he's good for a while, but they needed a win like that. And be honest with you, I thought Texas's defense would be a little too much for Oklahoma, and it wasn't. Yeah, I mean, seriously, right now, I will say Georgia did have, like, everybody thought that might be a lookout. Kentucky's going to upset Georgia, and Georgia hasn't looked like they, are possibly a 3-time champ if they were to win this year, and they've been kind of lackluster. They just beat the doors off of Kentucky. It was like 51-14, 51-20. It wasn't even close. So Georgia may be starting to reestablish himself as top dog. But you look around college football right now, and it is as wide open as it can get. So yeah, I mean, might as well throw Oklahoma in there.
By the way, Chico, do you know who was in attendance for that Red River rivalry game?
I believe Baker Mayfield was the guest picker. Boom.
He's not the only one. Lana Del Rey was at the game rocking Oklahoma gear, Chico. Hanging out with the band members.
Who is she? A big Oklahoma fan?
You know what? She went to Fordham. I don't know. I don't know where that. I think she was just.
Gee, how would you know she went to Fordham, Boom? Do you stalk her? You love Lana Del Rey. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like for your birthday, if Lana Del Rey came out of a cake, you'd be dead. I mean,
I'd faint. I'd cry. I would it'd be like tears of awe.
What is it about Lana Del Rey? I thought for sure the answer was Baker Mayfield, but it was Lana Del Rey.
Well, I mean, for me, she's my favorite songwriter in the game. Like for a number of reasons.
But you don't know why she was rocking Oklahoma gear, or why she was it from somebody in her band?
I know she had an ex from Oklahoma, but
because I could see you quietly or not so quietly, all of a sudden showing up in I don't know, Adrian Peterson jerseys, like
rocking the 2-8,
like on your guitar at night. Hey Lana, want a Zoom call and play some guitar?
I have shot my shot in the DMs before, Chico.
Oh, I 100% believe that.
Yeah, I mean, got to try.
100% believe that. I give you credit for that. It's all right.
Yeah, send her a few covers I've made. Okay. Back on topic. We totally got sidetracked there. That's my
This is a long fair or foul, Boom. You're going to make this like a whole hour?
I was just chomping at the bit
to
make amends for how awful my Thursday fair or foul was.
Okay.
So my last one, because we were talking about the college game and the parity and all of that. Notre Dame, by the way, so with Notre Dame, they fell to Louisville. They were upset by Louisville. Donovan Mitchell, speaking of guests in attendance, Donovan Mitchell brought the whole Cavs team out to Louisville to cheer the Cardinals on to victory.
Oh, my God, what does that mean for our future?
I know, right? But with that said, Notre Dame, obviously the biggest win on Ohio State's schedule right now. Fair or foul, do you think that upset may perhaps be a negative effect on the national perspective towards Ohio State?
Well, yeah, yes, only because, and I'll say this, and it's not sour grapes. It is what it is, and Joe Klatt pointed it out. Now, for good reason at times, because they can be obnoxious, but there are people that just don't like Ohio State. So if they get any chance to knock them, yeah, I mean, the first thing I'd be lying. The first thing I thought of was, all of a sudden that's not as good a win. And a win that, of course, they had to pull out in the final play to beat Notre Dame. It's not as good as a win, but I don't. It'll play out. I mean, that's the thing with college football. Honest to God, more often than not, we get all twisted in knots trying to figure out, a month in how this is going to it'll play itself out. But I was more about Louisville. I thought, Jeff Brom, who's from there, and I mean that guy
just an hour away from being a Bohm.
He yes. I thought I did see that. I did watch some of that. It was impressive. Lamar Jackson had to be very happy before he went out and lost to Pittsburgh, but at least he got to see that this weekend.
Man, yeah, Chico, I forgot about that. The Steelers. I was so shocked by. Okay, I don't have a fair foul question about that, but yeah, what an upset.
Yeah.
I meant to come up with a question for that one, and I just didn't.
Ravens defense, Steelers defense played very, very well.
Kenny Pickett with maybe the most clutch throw of his career thus far. To George Pickens, that touchdown, that was huge.
Well, I think that was more about. I think Pickens, like if he can just stay focused, because he's a bit of a wild card, but if he can stay focused, he is a talented dude. Like you talk about high pointing the football and all of that sort of thing. Like George Pickens could be very, very good. The only thing is, though, you still go back. Now, Jaylen Warren, again, at the end of that game, he had some big plays. Like, I think they're itching. I think for a while it was maybe trying to light a fire under Najee Harris, but now I think it's just Jaylen Warren gives them a better player. He's just more explosive. Yeah, I didn't see that one coming. I thought Baltimore, but again, the AFC North is the AFC North, and Lamar, for all the praise we've been giving him, especially after last week, he had some miscues late in the game.
I think the inconsistency with Lamar is like a thing. Like I noticed he had it. He was hitting on all cylinders.
Write that down,
Cleveland.
folks. Bohm says the inconsistency with Lamar is a thing.
I mean, it's a pattern that I feel like I'm observing when I watch Lamar Jackson play week to week.
Okay.
Because it seems to be especially, I forget what the word is, but yeah, whatever that word was, the thing. But with all that said, Chico, that is going to do it for this. Inconsistency. That was the word.
Inconsistency. Yeah.
That's going to do it for today's fair or foul as we have a soft landing.
Boom. If I'm not mistaken, that fair or foul lasted like almost 28 minutes. Is that possible?
I tried to come prepared.
We'll see. There were some other things you could have learned from Friday, but it's all right. No, that was good. That was fair or foul. Bohm's post-birthday celebration edition. When we come back, we've got news, and not necessarily good news, from Berea on Deshaun Watson. Yeah, that shoulder's becoming more of an issue by the day. And now, with the bye week in the rearview mirror, you've got, by the way, the San Francisco 49ers. That 49ers team that just absolutely embarrassed the Dallas Cowboys last night on Sunday Night Football. Browns have them coming to town. So we will talk about the latest on the practice field today and get you set for that game. And also, there are certain things that I can't wrap my mind around, sports accomplishments. Usually it's, sports that we follow a lot, but this one blew me away. I'll tell you what it is when we come back. Chico Borman Show, hanging with you until 2 o'clock right here on the Big Play Sports Network. All righty, welcome back. Chico Borman Show on this Monday. Good to have you along with you until 2 o'clock. Hey, don't forget, later on tonight, what do we have? We got the Reflux Show, right? Is that Bohm? Am I right about that? The Reflux Show at 9?
Yeah, we got Reflux Show tonight.
And
I
then
know.
we had the Hanford-Dixon Show.
Yeah, we got Greg Williams is in the building, baby.
G'd up. That's why, okay, full disclosure, that's why I was late. He's the best at just like hanging out in the hallway, or like the last couple of times we've watched games in our lounge area, and the last game the Tennessee game, and that was also the game that Miami put up 70. I was sitting right next to him, and then his son Blake, who coached with the Browns too and coached for him, was sitting behind us, and like I couldn't get enough of the story. So of course I knew as soon as I opened the door to go out in the hallway that there's no way I was going to be back in time. But it's G'd up, By the way, there was I don't know if you saw the exchange with Blake and I over the weekend. Blake has a wealth management company, and he filmed one of his like little commercials out here at Burke. And in the shot is a little plane, little commuter plane. And I tweeted out, I said, that's G-Dub's plane there behind you. And he replied, come get some airlines. And so all I could think of was in Hard Knocks when he talks about the testicles in the sea gap, like him being the guy, your airline guy, when you're directing the air traffic controller, and you're like, I'm going to need your landing gear on runway C. Need your landing gear on runway C. G-Dub's outstanding. But he was talking about Steve Wilkes. And he is, I guess, G-Dub, he'll tell you more about this with Hanford tonight, but he is... he's close with him and John Lynch and all those guys. But, yeah, they are praising Steve Wilkes for the job he's done, much like Schwartz here. All right, let us get you up to date because this is I don't know. Deshaun Watson, what we have been told or what we have read from boots on the ground in Berea, reports say that P.J. Walker and Dorian Thompson-Robinson were taking snaps outside in practice, and Deshaun Watson still apparently nursing that shoulder inside the facility practicing, throwing, not throwing, getting treatment. We don't know. They're keeping it top secret, and I understand that. This isn't about me complaining that, they're not telling you what's going on. I don't have to tell anybody. Boom, I don't have to tell you, and I don't have to tell anybody else. Even with Deshaun Watson, I'll just be brutally honest. I don't like the Browns' chances this week. Okay, I'm not paid to be a cheerleader and whatever. And, maybe later on in the season, if they're playing this game and the Browns, you've seen some incremental progress on the offensive side of the ball, and Deshaun Watson in particular, and the running game starts to come back a little bit, then maybe I have a different take. But right now, again, you can't ignore it. We can't ignore San Francisco last night absolutely embarrassed the Dallas Cowboys. Embarrassed them, right? 42 to, Dallas comes in, this great defense, and led by Micah Parsons, and San Francisco, Brock Purdy's just cut 17 to 24, throws 4 touchdowns. George Kittle has 3 of them. Christian McCaffrey's doing his thing. When Kyle Shanahan has the offense running at the way they're running right now, it is a beautiful thing to watch, unless you're a fan of the opposing team. And that's what the Browns are going to be getting. Now, the Browns are extremely good defensively. I know the Baltimore game happened. I know that, they didn't have a good game at all. Juan Thornhill called out his teammates. They'll rebound, but I think you can only rebound so much. This San Francisco team right now that we are seeing is a well-oiled machine on both sides of the ball. But as it pertains to the San Francisco defense and the Browns offense, I don't have to tell you. You go back to last night's game, Dallas ran for a net 59 yards, I think. So they had no running game. You think it's any coincidence that they didn't have a running game and Dak Prescott threw 3 interceptions? Did you see Dante Whitner with the San Francisco postgame? Yeah, Dak sucks. He wasn't very good last night.
Not mincing words.
No, not mincing words. And I think, the scary truth of this whole thing is, even if Deshaun plays, they're in trouble because they haven't had a running game since Nick Chubb went down. Understandable, but it is what it is. This is why I say, as you take them on in week 6, I guess it would be, okay, you do get them on a somewhat short week. They played Sunday night, and they're going to have to fly clear across the country, however thousands of miles that is. So, yeah, their body clock, it's going to kick at 1. Their body clock's going to be around 10. So maybe that's an advantage. But this is a team right now that it's the team the Browns don't want to see, but they're going to see. And you don't want to see them, as Dallas found out, if you're one-dimensional. If you are one-dimensional against those guys, against the likes of Nick Bosa, against the likes of Fred Warner, who was an absolute monster last night, you're going to be in big, big trouble. And we'll keep our eye on the Deshaun Watson injury. Deshaun at least gives them a chance if he plays and if he's somewhat healthy. It should be P.J. Walker. I would think, okay, maybe they just signed him and that's why he wasn't. During the bye week, hopefully they got him up to speed because Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and I'm not blaming the kid, but he wasn't ready, nor will he be ready if he has to face. Nobody's going to be ready. P.J. Walker isn't going to be ready, okay? But you got to go with some experience there. But if that's the case and he's out again, say your Hail Marys and prayers and whatever you got to do, whatever you believe in, because it's going to be a bloodbath. It is what it is right now. Now, could the Browns defense get some turnovers and I think I'm sure that Kyle Shanahan is going to look and the 49ers are going to look at what Baltimore did offensively to use the Browns' aggressiveness against them. But, San Francisco is kind of built the same way. So you can do that a little bit with the Browns offense. But, again, you're kind of handicapped if you can't run the football. And they just have not, whether you're playing San Francisco or Seattle or Baltimore or whoever it is, if you're not able to run the football, you're in trouble. But if you can't run the football and don't establish any sort of a running game against San Francisco, you are in big, big trouble. Big trouble. Hope that's not the case. All right, real quick before we get out of here, Boom. I don't pay attention to road running and marathons very much, but did you hear that the world record was broke by a Kenyan, which that's not a surprise. So this dude finished a marathon in basically 2 hours. When I say 2 hours and change, I don't mean like 2 hours and change, like 2 hours and 2 minutes. I mean 2 hours flat with like a few seconds in there. 2 hours, Boom, for 26.2 miles.
I saw it was an average of 4 minute 36 seconds per mile ran.
Again, how do you, that's impossible. And like you see these guys, like that's what's so funny about, and all right, full disclosure. So when I was in 7th grade, I qualified. It was the AAU National Cross Country Championships, right? I wish I hadn't qualified. So you ran I think it was a 3.1 mile race in Hagerstown, Maryland, is where they ran the race. And it was full of hills and it was full. But like I wasn't used to, like I would start fast and I wouldn't like be done. But, those guys, the real, they blazing start and they never slow down. How? 26.2 miles, 4.5 minute mile. That is unbelievable. I mean, you talk about things that like we'll never be able to do. We always talk about like, dunking a basketball, hitting a 95 mile an hour fastball or a 92 mile an hour slider, whatever. Running a marathon in 2 hours flat. If you said I could bike half of it and run the other half, I still wouldn't be able to do it in 2 hours. That is absolutely insane. So, yeah. So if you're going to go home after work and lay on the couch, just remember some guy from Kenya is running 436 miles for 26.2 miles and just set a world record. Now, it helps, too, because if there's wind, a lot of those guys weigh like 88 pounds. So, like, if a 28-mile-an-hour wind gust come, it just they automatically go from like the start to the end of the 10K. Like
it's going to add a little bit of propulsion into the dynamic.
Yeah. Thank you, Bo. All right, we're out of time. When we come back tomorrow, we've got our Bold Bald breakdown with Nick Shook. No game for the Browns to break down. We will be breaking down plenty of what we saw from the 49ers against Dallas last night. I'm sure Nick has plenty of thoughts on that, so we'll talk to him about that from noon to 1. And then in the 1 o'clock hour, we touched on this briefly, but man, is it bad in New England. And if it wasn't so bad, I wouldn't be talking to Christopher Price, but it's that bad. 69 unanswered points. What is going on with Belichick and company? Christopher Price from the Boston Globe will join us coming up tomorrow around 1:15. So for Anthony Cashvins, appreciate him joining us in the baseball playoffs continuing tonight. And Michael Bohm, I'm Mike Chico Borman. Don't forget, tonight you got the Reflog show at 9, and is Hanford and G-Dub on at 8, Bohm? Do I have that right? Is that 8 o'clock they dropped that?
That sounds about right.
Sounds about right? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, stay tuned.
Yeah.
We got a fun, entertaining night coming your way. For all of us here at Big Play Sports, enjoy the rest of your Monday. See ya.